Hi, everyone. I'm Gary Berman, the host of the Cyber Hero Adventure Show. We have a very, very special multi-part. That goes in the blooper reel. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Gary Berman, the host of the Cyber Hero Adventure Show. Thanks so much to all of you, the unsung cyber heroes who toil in anonymity at work, at home, at school to keep us safe online. And speaking of which, we have a magnificent guest today, Bo Woods, who's from CISA, and he's going to be with us for a special 5-part series to unpack some of the great work that CISA is doing. Hey, Bo, welcome to the show.
Hey, Gary, happy to be on.
First of all, I want to tell you, thank you so much because we just finished a great interview and I forgot to hit the button. Um, you know, what do you do
Yeah.
about that except this? Um,
Do
but
you have a womp womp?
uh, I can probably, add one of those. And by the way, thanks for your attempt at humor, but my audience knows, let me do the humor and comedy and you do the substance. That way we stay in our lanes.
And that way we make a good team.
Indeed. So speaking of good teams, what drew you to CISA?
Yeah. So CISA, for those who don't know, I'll give a little snippet of a background. The U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency is a part of Department of Homeland Security. And it was stood up formally, I think, in 2018. So we're still only 4 years old. As one of the newest agencies in order to have a focused kind of way to address cybersecurity, information security, as well as infrastructure security, the guns, gates, and guards, as we sometimes call it. And the idea was that if you put this in kind of a center of excellence, it could be better at protecting government, but also critical infrastructure and the rest of civil society through a non-regulatory, advisory guidance, a helping hand when you need one kind of approach. And so, first of all, that concept was really, really attractive to me when it started up. And actually, in just before the pandemic got started, in 2020, then Director Krebs came out to RSA and sat down and hung out with the supply chain sandbox, which I was running at the time, and started playing some of the games that we brought to the supply chain sandbox. I said, like, this is super cool. I'd love to be able to bring this kind of innovation, this kind of collaboration, working with private sector, working with the hacker community, the security researcher community, to bring more of that spirit of innovation into CISA. And CISA started bringing in a handful of security researchers, people from private sector, from academia, kind of into the fold to be able to do that and to create that kind of culture change. That quickly kind of became a lot of our work focused on the COVID pandemic because of the timing when we came in.
Right.
And eventually that transitioned into a COVID task force where we were entirely dedicated to addressing COVID issues, again, from the infrastructure side as well as the cybersecurity side. And we can talk a little bit more about some of the outputs that we had over that time, about some of the other things that CISA has done, including some of the publications that we created specifically for healthcare, specifically in response to COVID, to help defend the nation, not just from adversaries, but also from the natural course of the disease that we're all fighting right now.
Indeed. And we're going to delve into that in a subsequent episode of the show. And I'd like to have you amplify a little bit more about the culture change that you alluded to. Director Eastley has been just a rock star. And I don't, say that lightly. I think it might have been an RSA, gave a great speech, and she was sort of wearing these dragging cartoon pants and, dancing on the stage, and there was rock music, and even the font for like the JCDC, is like, I'm not sure I know it was a rock band. I can't remember, but do you know, by the way, the look, was it ACDC?
Yeah, I think it was modeled off of ACDC.
Oh yeah, cool. So like, what is that all about? Like, what's the her intention about setting that kind of vibe, and is it working?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, SZA it's a young agency, and we're kind of scrappy, kind of startup-y. We like to see ourselves as the kind of the organization that's able to actually reach out and work really closely with private sector, really closely with the public, really closely with these other groups within cybersecurity, within industry, within academia, civil society. And to do that, we've got to reach people where they are, right? And to bring that kind of culture of change to a federal government agency is, a difficult thing. Even a young one has its roots in government. So I think we're trying to change that public perception. We're trying to be more accessible. We're trying to kind of show that we're not your grandparents' federal agency, so that we can reach the people that we need to in order to serve our mission. And that has included things like putting out a comic book series, for instance, comic book series that covers a number of different topics, where we're able to, hopefully kind of demystify some of the cybersecurity things, the infrastructure security things that tend to sometimes overwhelm people or tend to make them feel like they don't know what they're doing, or feel a little
Indeed.
bit of learned helplessness, right? Um, we also have set up um, a network of kind of field offices. So these are people that are in the backyard of the communities that we serve, so that you understand the common issues, the common ideologies, just the common zeitgeist in those very specific areas, to really reach out and have somebody local to your community that can help. We've done a lot of other things to kind of build those bridges with the rest of the country.
And I think you've been quite successful on something that I refer to as humanizing cybercrime,
Mm.
because it'd be very easy to be overwhelmed, just by the volume of information, the volume of threats, and what does someone do about it, especially state and local governments, the educational ecosystem, small to medium businesses. Is that
Mhm.
a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think so. One of the things that we've done within CISA, I think that's been great, is we've really kind of strove to help those small medium businesses to defend themselves. We see ourselves as really partners with the private sector to be able to help them. We're not regulatory. We don't have regulatory power. We don't come in with a wagging finger. We come in with a helping hand, right? We've got a number of publications, set of guidances. We have actually some services that we can deliver to these organizations that might need to have some investment or might need to have some steering in order to be able to do the best for themselves.
Indeed. And you just said something that is incredibly important, the helping hand rather than the pointing finger. In my body of experience in listening and learning from hundreds of real life unsung cyber heroes, you the zeitgeist, to use your expression, has been kind of negative consequences, and the only time you hear about cybercrime or hacking is when the criminals, the threat actors, win. And so I applaud you for doing that. How are you going about changing the culture so that if someone is victimized by a cyber attack, they are not ashamed, they don't feel isolated, they reach out to you? Tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we want to start before they get hit and help them defend themselves. But of course, it's impossible to defend against every threat, every vector, and every potential consequence. It just doesn't make sense to try and do everything to build a Fort Knox around your business, because you got to let people in, right? So one of the things we've done is we've put out some educational guides. I mentioned the comic books. We've also got a series of other documents and publications, some of which I think are going to be the focus of some later episodes, like our bad practices guide, like our known exploited vulnerabilities, like our page on ransomware, stopransomware.gov, which is a whole of government effort that we're coordinating. So we want to get in there before the bad guys do and help those organizations defend themselves. But once they are impacted, they can pick up the phone, send an email, and call CISA, let us know what's happened, and we can be there to provide some support. We have a large threat hunting team where we can go and look for the criminals to help those organizations recover. We've got the group of field representatives who can go out, who can provide a little bit of advice and guidance, kind of be that trusted advisor, particularly for organizations in their regions. And we really want to help ensure recovery rather than, we don't have a law enforcement capability. So we're not going to come in and say, freeze all of these assets so we can try and track down the criminals. Now, we do work with the FBI and other law enforcement who do that. But our first focus is resilience recovery. We're also not a regulatory agency. And in fact, the coincidentally named CISA Act of 2015, the Cybersecurity and Information Sharing Act of 2015, gives us some superpowers, to use your comic book terms, that says that, if organizations are sharing information in good faith and in certain ways, then we're actually forbidden from handing that over to regulatory agencies in most cases. So we want to really be a friendly helping hand to those organizations before, during, and after they're hit, so that we can enhance the national resilience and recoverability, particularly in critical infrastructure sectors and in our national critical functions.
Indeed. And so you use the, metaphor or analogy, I guess, of helping hands. One of the challenges and opportunities, facing the globe is workforce development. I know that you and your colleagues are doing some interesting outreach. Can you share with our audience a little bit about that?
Yeah. We're looking to help organizations with workforce development as well as ourselves. So we have a number of capabilities that we can offer as far as like training, particularly for critical infrastructure. We can help people understand that. Some general guidance, some documentation on how to train your employees, whether they're a frontline retail worker or whether they're an IT person. Also, we're looking to improve our own workforce. So we've just recently done some things where now we're able to bring in a wider group of individuals to help CISA defend the nation. We also have done some really innovative things and creative things, such as some of the hiring authorities that we have to be able to bring in talent that might be non-traditional talent and in ways that are non-traditional government hiring. So we're really trying to
Well,
lead
hold on.
by example.
I forgive the interruption. You have any use for a 64-year-old guy who occasionally wears a superhero
Absolutely.
costume?
Yep. I think it
I
would be
had to say
great.
it. I mean,
I think it would be great to have, some of the spirit that you bring to what you're doing and all the things you've done over the past few years into CISA to help get that word out and to work together, whether you're inside the agency or whether you're outside the agency, raising awareness through what you're already doing.
done. How does our audience get more information about, let's say, workforce development? By the way, before I sign off on this, our first of a 5-part series, is maybe you can share with our audience, Director Easterly's views on diversity and inclusion.
Yeah. I've been really pleased with CISA's workforce in coming on board and looking at the diversity and how well it represents American society in all facets, right? Uh, Cybersecurity is not a place where we have a surfeit of talent. There's a scarcity of talent, and so we need to bring people in from all sectors, from everywhere, uh, to really help defend the nation, protect critical infrastructure and our national critical functions. And I think that CISA and our workforce development, our talent acquisition, has really been doing a good job since we were founded, several years ago, at doing that. And the current direction continues that and attempts to accelerate the hope that we can bring in the best talent with some of the things we've done in terms of non-traditional hiring authorities, in terms of special cybersecurity pay, and some other things.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, for example, I just heard recently that you're doing an innovative pilot program with some folks who may be on the spectrum to give them an opportunity to deploy their God-given gifts to help out. Is that true?
Um, the cybersecurity community, especially the security researcher community, has some amazing, incredible talent. Um, it also has a lot of people who they're round pegs in a square hole world, right? So being able to be innovative and creative and flexible and agile on bringing those types of talent in and using them to get the best capabilities from them, in order to again serve the nation and to protect ourselves. I think it's really clever. It's really creative, and I'm eager and excited to see how that program goes.
Indeed, and we're going to amplify your good works in that regard. And also, lastly, on this topic, veterans, what a great source of talent.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the people within CISA have former military backgrounds, former law enforcement, and they come in to serve their nation in a different way, serve on the homeland side as opposed to overseas work. Although CISA does do a fair amount of international work too. So if there's folks out there who want to continue traveling around and engaging internationally, there's probably a home for you at CISA as well.
Indeed. And so, how does our audience get more information about some of the great stuff that you're doing?
Yeah, I think you can go to CISA.gov. That's our website. And you can check out some of the resources that we've got there. You can also look for your regional CISA team. And we've got 10 regions in the country, and there's dozens of people in each region, each with kind of a different specialty and specialization, not just cybersecurity. Some of them are infrastructure security. Some of the folks are helping to coordinate, helping to engage specifically with some of the communities of interest in those areas. So yeah, we hope to be as accessible as possible and as available as possible.
Indeed. Well, on behalf of a grateful digital universe, thanks so much, Bo, to you and everyone at CISA for who you are and what you do, and most importantly, why you do it. So, to our audience, thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for the next issue of our show where we're going to talk about bad practices.